compliance with New Jersey's Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231 of Public Law 1975, I hereby declare that adequate notice of this meeting has been provided specifying that this meeting would be held on this date in the municipal building, 55 River Road, Edgewater, New Jersey, at 7 p.m. This notice was sent to the Record and Jersey Journal, posted on the bulletin board in the lobby of the Borough Hall, and posted on the borough's website. Council President Monti, will you lead us in the salute of the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the
flag
flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we have, under conference, we have Millennium Strategies, PSE&G, and Pat Segan from Colony. So we'd like to start off with Millennium Strategies.
Thank you, Mayor. My name is Bernadette McPherson. Good evening, Mayor and borough officials, council members. I am now with Millennium Strategies for the last year. I previously served as a Bergen County freeholder as well as the mayor of Rutherford. We are very grateful for the time that we have tonight. I wanted to take the opportunity to introduce you to Alexon Colazos, who has now been assigned to be Edgewater's grants manager. Alexon should be a familiar face to all of you. For many years, she worked on the staff of Congressman Rothman's, and Edgewater is quite familiar to her, so we really just wanted to take the opportunity to say hello and answer any questions that you might have. Well, Alexon and I have only been with Millennium Strategies for roughly almost a year now. The Millennium Strategies has represented the borough of Edgewater for a period of time, I think 2007, and in that time, we've been proud of the fact that we've been able to gain $3.5 million in grants funding for the borough of Edgewater, and we look forward to working with you in the future.
Do we have any questions from the council?
We would, being that you're going to now be sort of like our liaison, I guess, between for our relationship with Millennium Strategies. We'd like to, going forward, start receiving a status report quarterly.
Oh, sure.
I think we're getting something now, but it would be nice to kind of break it down in a way where certain a column sort of like for grants that we're pursuing, a column of potentially available grants that might be interesting to us, and what we've been able to achieve. Something that would be able to help us measure our progress.
Absolutely, Councilman, it's interesting that you say that. We have actually just changed the format for our monthly reports, and it's almost exactly as you've described it. So going forward, that's exactly what you'll be getting.
That would be great.
Good.
Perfect.
Good.
Do we have anything Millennium's working on right now at the time? Do you know?
Right now, we're working with the AFG grant, which is due at the end of this week. So we're in the process of still finishing that application. We do the post-sanding planning report. It's the post-sanding planning grant that has been submitted. We're just waiting for the state to actually make the determination. So we're expecting, quickly that it should be a quick turnaround on that application. And go ahead.
I'm sorry, AFG is what?
The AFG,
Assistance to
Firefighters Grant. Assistance to Firefighter Grant, so I'm working on that right now. We're still trying to complete the application.
And she's been working with the fire chief and the assistant chief on that one. And in regard to the FEMA planning grant, we have to advertise and request for qualification to hire a planner that will prepare this planning report. The grant is a $30,000 grant, and Debbie Riley's working on the RFP now, so hopefully we'll have that advertised sometime within the next week or so.
How much is the advisor cost versus the grant? Is that reimbursable or?
Yeah, it's a limit of 30,000 or a maximum of 30,000 that you have.
Including the advisor?
That's to pay for the planner that will develop a mitigation plan.
I guess what you're trying to ask is if the cost of a planner is going to exceed the amount of the grant. Is there a possibility of
The
that?
actual, the grant is to pay for the planner. So we're asking for $30,000 to pay for a planner to come and make an assessment of Edgewater. Is that the question, Councilman?
I think it is.
Yeah,
Yes.
sure. Thank you.
Is there any way to take the $30,000 and not have a planner and just use it for something?
Yeah. No, it's very specific. And they're asking for, actually, this grant, the reason why is because it's specifically for a planner, and they make very specific items. So no, it's just for the planner right
But
now.
Council, to your
But-
point, if there is a particular project that you would like us to research the availability of grants for, we'd be more than happy to do that. And look forward to having you identify, either in your capital budget or some plans that you might have in place for things that you'd like to accomplish. What's interesting to me as a former elected official is that there used to be, as you know, a much greater amount of government support, either on the federal level, on the state level, even on the county level. And what we are able to do is research not just those governmental funds, but funds that come from philanthropic organizations that are specific perhaps to your fire department or to your police department or for some other particular project, historic preservation. So if there are things that you have in mind that you'd like to see us pursue, we are ready and able to research that. We have a full-time research assistants on staff. And in addition to our assistants, you also have the assistance of the rest of the staff at Millennium Strategies. Ed Farmer, who I know all of you are familiar with, Sue Scazzone, who is a noted expert on navigating the very, very difficult process that it has been for FEMA funding to be returned. We just recently got $3.5 million for the County of Bergen for mitigation projects. So if there's something specific that you have in mind that you'd like to see us research, we'll go ahead and do that.
Well,
You have
Christmas
something?
list, yes. And look into the walkway along the waterfront.
Okay.
It's a big issue, especially
Yes.
with the property owners and just for the residents of the town. I know Greg, trying, but that would be a nice.
Yeah, that's, I think what we can do, certainly going forward, in addition to the report that you're looking for, is after, the next couple of weeks after the holidays, to sit down and look at your capital budget, look at what your 5-year plan is, and see how we might be able to assist you in reaching those goals.
And what has happened with the previous consultant prior to Alexon is that we would get probably a monthly email with a list of grant opportunities which we would forward to the department heads. So if it was related to police, related to fire, related to public works. So we would send those to the department heads and say, hey, look, if there's any interest, contact the consultant. So that's typically how they've worked it over the time here in Edgewater, including on the preparation of the monthly reports.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions?
Yes, this consultant, do they work, there are many other assignments besides ours, or?
Oh, we represent a number of clients in Bergen, actually throughout the state.
Mhm. But I mean, the one that will specifically work with us will be working with, how many other assignments?
I have 3 other towns that I work with.
So a
3
total
other
of 4.
municipalities, yeah,
Total
4
of 4.
municipalities that I work with.
So I just want to know, like, what portion of your time will be spent with us, okay?
Yeah, no, of course, I mean, and we know that if there's a meeting that you need to attend, of course, just let me know. I'll be happy to make an appearance if you need meetings that you want me to attend, of course. So,
What other towns are you, can you tell me what other towns you're going to be working with?
yes, we have Fort Lee, actually, we just acquired Fort Lee recently. I work with Moonaka, which we've done a lot of hazard mitigation on that one.
Moonaki?
Moonaki,
Well, that's good for our waterfront.
Exactly, so we're doing a lot, so because of this, we've done a lot of FEMA-related stuff, Sandy.
Mhm.
So so Moonaki, Wallington, I'm actually working with in Carlstadt.
Okay, thank you.
So some of the-
How does next year look overall in terms of landscape and in terms of available funds and
Well,
possibilities?
some of the things that we've already applied for, we're waiting for approval, and that probably won't take place until 2014. But as far as what applications are ongoing, the one that Alexon mentioned is the assistance to firefighter grants. That application is going to go in this week, but we won't find out about whether or not funding is awarded for several months, well into 2014.
Probably June or July, they make those announcements.
Any further questions? Any other questions for Ryan? Thanks for your
All
time.
right, thank you. I'm going to leave my cards here. Most of you already have my cell phone number, but there they are from the clerk. And we can all be reached at that website. Thank you all very much for your time. Take care. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right, so we have PSE&G and Pat Saget, and that they're not here, so we'll switch it up it will take this opportunity to open to the public. This time I open the meeting to the public. Anyone wish to be heard? Mayor?
Mary Hogan, Associates on Nickel Avenue. We're starting to run into problems that we have been talking about. The one-way for the school has been working, pretty good. I mean, I think it's been flowing in the morning. But what we're seeing now more and more times is that people's, because it's a two-way, people's mirrors are getting snapped off. We've had 3 in our house get snapped because we have to be down by where it is the narrowest. And I really would urge you to consider making it a one-way full-time, at least from North Street South, in addition to the, construction that's going to be taken so many parking spaces off the street from North Street South to the Route 5. I presume that most of you have seen the construction that's going on across from, well, it used to be Villa Tijuana's property. And I was just wondering, since we have a steep slope ordinance, how in any way, shape, or form that could be done, what they've done to that property in terms of cutting into the cliffs. And the structures, the walls that are going to be built to hold back the cliff at that point. As I know that they've come before a board, but have we ever had our engineers actually take a look at them? They're gonna have to be, I would think, at least 30 feet high, considering what they've cut out. They have the forms for
The footings
footings,
set
for
right
the
now.
first one.
But yeah, I don't know, Mary, if,
I
I'll
presume
ask.
they have to,
Oh, they're gonna step up, I believe.
they have to, I think
behind the-
that's a rule too in the town.
Right, I believe behind the existing footings that you see just went in, I think
Right,
even
just
Thursday or
recently.
Wednesday. I believe right behind there's a step, and then you go up another landing, and then there's another setback. I think they're having problems with the floor. I think they originally wanted to have that done before they started, but they're having problems with the engineered wall that they're using. So I'll definitely call Negley and voice
Well,
concern.
I don't understand what's our steep slope ordinance cover, if it doesn't cover that? Because I know that they had, originally, we had thought it was just going to be larger developments, and then it did apply to the 1 and 2 families also. And I don't understand how what you see at the board is one thing, and then when you actually see it being done, it's like massive, what they cut into the cliffs, and the height of those walls are gonna have to be to hold it back. I mean, I'm presuming they're putting up walls to hold it back.
Right.
If not, the
No, they
couple
are.
years, they're gonna have wall back down on the house that sits below it. So I would just request that someone go up and take a look at it. It just seems beyond the scope of what can be done in that area, because it is so steep. And we were at a meeting and they were discussing the height of the walls on a different matter. And they had said if it's over a certain amount, the steps have to be 4 feet. That's not 4 foot. Pilings they have in for the first one. It's gotta be at least 10,
Right.
and maybe higher than that, I don't know, I didn't measure it, but it certainly is a tremendous impact on those Palisades and the neighborhood. Because obviously they're gonna have to put something up on the sides to support the properties on the north and south that they're digging into in terms of supporting their land from, falling in. So it's gonna be like total walls. I mean, even at Higgins's, they didn't do all that, go back that far to build their buildings. So I was just wondering how that came to be.
Well, I'll call tomorrow and I'll express the same concern. It's a reasonable concern. I'll check into it tomorrow.
Okay. And then I was just wondering if anybody had an update on the Veterans Field. what the status is. I mean, you don't have to give it to me now, but if we could just get a status as to what's happening. And, I mean, Sherman's gave a very good report when they were here as to, it was pretty clear what had to be done, more and less, and, you know, that was in flux, but they seem to be pretty on top of it. And I was just wondering, because of course, looking at it, nothing's happening.
And that nothing can happen until they get the approval. So the contractor hired an LSRP, and those two are going over the results, test results, but I still believe that the approval to start work they still have to present the plan, because it's actually like a new remediation. So the plan has to be presented and approved before anything can go on.
Okay, and you said, when you said the company, you mean Waterside?
Waterside.
Hired
He
it?
has his own LSRP now. He hired an LSRP.
Okay, is that available who they are?
You know what, I'll find out. I don't know.
Penn Jersey.
I'm sorry?
It's a company called Penn Jersey out of South New Jersey.
Okay, and have they got other, presume they've done other removal?
I'm assuming so. They have a comprehensive website. I do believe they list all their projects on there. But our LSRP is still the lead on it.
Yeah,
So I know Phil was going to provide a report later on or anything else that I didn't have.
well, you can do it later if you want. I just was hoping that we would hear some kind of
That's
update
the
on it.
biggest question, and the fact that there's nothing going on, but it'll be a little while longer before we see
Yeah,
something.
and then, of course, another thing that you don't really want to hear is that I have a concern about some of the members of the mayor and council sitting in on negotiations in terms of conflicts of interest. And I was just wondering how that came to be. When, you went into closed session, nobody left. So I just wonder if anybody's recusing themselves. Thank you.
Valerie?
Valerie Bardina, 16 Hudson Terrace. Hello. I have one question.
Welcome back, Valerie.
Thank you. Let's see if you're still walking around the
No, hold on.
Hold that thought.
Admittedly, I've been out of the loop a little, so I have a few questions. And Mayor, you just said that Waterside hired their own LSRP. And Mr. Franz said the company is Penn Jersey. My concerns are, well, first let me ask you, did the council do any investigation on their own as to how this happened, the contamination? How, thankfully, Terms Environment became aware of it, but have you contacted the DEP? Has anybody ever contacted the DEP to
I
inform
believe
them?
terms, that's their
Terms
responsibility.
did, Terms,
it has to.
did, okay. And my concern is that the company that allegedly or potentially recontaminated the site is now going to be trusted to hire a company, once again, to remediate
No,
the remediation.
Mayor, Valerie, I'm sorry. And just, maybe I'm not picking this up, but they hired their own LSRP, I guess, so they have somebody on their side, someone
Right.
going for them. We have terms. Terms, to do the remediation will not be Waterside. They're not
Right.
qualified to do the type of cleanup we need there. So it will be a contractor that, I guess, will come through the bidding process to the borough and, and Terms. Terms will be in charge of the
And
cleanup.
who's going to pay for that?
As far as we're concerned, the last meeting, Waterside Construction will be picking up that.
Do you have that in writing though? Because a
Yeah.
lot of things are said, and if they're not in writing, they mean nothing. means nothing. So is that in writing? Do you have a binding contract? And my other question is, and I viewed the tapes, that discussion about the performance bond, that, well, you know, the performance bond, it takes so long, and blah, 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 you know, it's more problems. Well, I was on the council, we drew in performance bonds, we drew in them during for the rec center. Performance bonds on numerous occasions were drawn in, and there was no big to-do. That's why a contractor, and I'm sure you know, you're an electrician, you're a contractor, you have to present performance bonds, especially when you're going to work for companies. And that's the point of them, that if something happens, that you have that bond in place to protect the taxpayers.
And I agree with you, and at this point though, Valerie, I believe he's assuming the responsibility, so
Okay.
but like you said, there are some things starting to come up as far as the cost of our terms,
Right.
which he'll incur the cost
Right.
the cost there, and then, you know,
I
future
think-
costs. So,
right. I
yeah,
think-
we are in the process of trying to come up with, I guess, a written contract to have it all.
Well, I think you should have
Every
a
I dotted and
contract, you know,
everything crossed.
and I think it should be with an attorney whose first priority is Edgewater. Edgewater, that's it, Edgewater residents. And, you know, this Penn Jersey, I would have thought that you guys would have had this whole thing vetted already. Like, for me, you gave me this name, you could be sure tonight I'll be vetting him. And I will know everything about this company, everything. You should have did that already, should have did that. Somebody should have did that.
We have terms working for us.
But I understand that, but you know,
And terms will
and
make
I
the
understand
decision.
that, but you guys should be vetting this company also. You can't just, you have to inspect what you expect. It's really easy to do. It's amazing the information you can get, amazing. So I would just really encourage you guys to vet this company. You have it. I'm sure Mr.
What
Franz
can we
has.
do with that information?
Well, you'll know who you're dealing with. You'll know who's
We don't
here.
deal with them.
We're not dealing with them.
It's almost like they hired a
They have
defense
nothing
attorney.
to
It's
do
all
with
they
it.
do.
They're
It's
there
nothing
to
to do with us.
protect the developer, the construction company. They're there to protect the construction company. It's almost as if it's their attorney.
Valerie, we don't care what they say at the end of the day. We only care what terms
Right.
say.
We have a hard time, you know, I think we're all
But
on the
they're
same.
not attorneys.
No.
No, I think
But
it's
you
just
said it's like
comparing.
they're
It's like
attorneys.
I was using it as a metaphor.
Oh,
I was
okay,
saying
okay.
it's like.
Well, you should really know the companies that you're dealing
They
with.
Terms is
present
what we should
themselves
know.
at the last
I know.
council
Terms,
meeting.
it's their responsibility, terms.
Well, you know something?
They're working
Some-
for us.
I understand that, but sometimes even your higher professionals aren't doing everything necessary. So you should get, look, when I was on the council, there was our grants person who was like really a former councilwoman, wanted this grants person. And this grant company wasn't vetted because, well, this is, our professional recommended this grants person, please. It turns out, well, the grants person had, a criminal history, the grants, there was this whole laundry list of problems.
If the borough was paying for that, correct?
The borough, no, actually with the grants, it's the same thing, you get a grant and they promise to bring in X amount of dollars and,
If the borough was doing business with that grant writer.
But
they
you
had to-
are essentially still doing business with this
You're not
company.
doing business
Now,
with that
now,
company.
now.
He's
New
going
Jersey.
to be representing
He's
them.
he's there just to rebuttal terms or work out,
Okay,
the terms.
thank you for clarifying that, that's it. So he's not going to
We
make
don't
any
care what he says,
decisions.
because terms is the final
No,
decision.
Okay.
Our representation
Okay,
is
so, but
terms.
you're not going to, he's not gonna propose to you a proposal and
We
say,
don't
this is
care what
what
he
you
says.
should do,
We
and
don't
you should
care.
do
Makes
it.
the final
He might
Okay.
propose the terms and,
But shouldn't
you
you
know,
make the final
Well, with
decision
us,
also?
terms,
We
and
will.
us, terms, and us, not us. and-
terms is our consultant.
Okay, but
That
you're not
person,
going
yeah.
to advocate everything to terms, you're going to be in the loop.
Sure,
You
of
know?
course,
Right.
of course.
Thank you very much.
Dennis?
My journey
Absolutely.
here tonight,
Absolutely.
I killed somebody. And because the guy ran across the street, and I realized, well, he ran across the street, well, we have one of those things that you can't see in the dark, but the reason it's there is to be approachable. And we have multiple things like that, you know. And anyway, I mean, I'm not exaggerating, but I came very close to running somebody down, and
Where was that, Vince?
I wish I could tell you exactly. I was affected by it, I gotta tell you. It's midway between here and I'll find out, and I'll let you know. But what I realize, it's not just one place. We have these things that people, they don't last very long. They're planted in the middle of the road. I don't know who's taking them down or putting them up, for that matter, but they don't last very long. And one way or the other, it doesn't even matter because they're ridiculous. They're just, especially in the dark. But they wind up on the side of their own. And I don't do it. So they're less than, I think we have a situation that maybe is without remedy. We have just crammed too much in here. I don't know what we can do about it this time, but I think we have to make some sort of lighting available in these areas where it is very difficult to realize that somebody's about to run across the street, because that's where we have a place to cross the street.
Okay. Well, just let me know, Dennis, if you can, in the next couple of days, if you leave a message for Greg, just tell us where it happened, because, you know, we've dealt with some complaints about crosswalks, and we were actually, the county, they were very helpful in providing one up at the school. So, and it's important that they're lit and that they're fluorescent enough that people can see them, so just give us a location, and, you know.
I was involved with the council a long time ago, and we had the issue come up about the steep slopes. In fact, preceded my meeting. But we put into effect things that you can't do what's being done in about 7 different places in town right now, where near vertical things are being put in. Our ordinance stipulates that if you're going up, you have to go back, up, back. And to a large extent, that is not what's going on right now. We have just vertical, there's very little setback. And it's, you should go up, get somebody to go up there and take a look at it, and for your own satisfaction, come to a conclusion about what is going on and how could it be that, how could that be happening. We do have an ordinance that you can't do it, period. And that's because even longer period back, we had a wall for them, a wall that was 30 feet high. And that's about what they're doing now in town right now. So we got stuck with the bill a long time ago when the wall fell down, and we're liable to, possibly be liable for that in the future also.
You're talking, this is in the property, the 3 units.
I actually do not know who owns it.
Okay, the Undercliff.
Yes,
Same
but like I
thing.
said, there are 7 big holes in the ground in town right now. Okay, there's all sorts of activity going on here, and most of them are not compliant. These holes in the ground. And you might take a ride around and see that. Thank you.
Anyone else wish to be heard? Peter,
Thank you, Mayor.
how are you?
Peter Paul, 606 Undercliff. Going behind Dennis, the lights in town, some of the street lights are still out. For example, corner of Myrtle and Glenwood, right across from, Route 5, right across from Waterside Construction, and then up the other slope of Route 5, halfway up, there's a street light out. It's just for safety, if we can get them back on. And there may be others, the police can maybe spot them now it's darker this time of year. I'd also like to bring up the issue again of the senior buses. If we get the lifts fixed on the back of them, so some of the older men and women can get onto those vehicles.
Peter, have you gotten any recent complaints? Because I was told they're all functioning.
They're more functioning.
That's what I was told,
No,
as of the last time.
Okay. Also about the idea, I support the idea under Cliff Avenue, one way from George Washington south to Route 5. And if you see the construction going on, when there's dump trucks going both ways and they have to get out of each other's way, that the road is just too narrow. And if this is the future, and I think it is, the construction along Undercliff. This is going to be going on for years. So maybe a test to see if it'll work to our betterment, to get more parking, but also to have a wider lane for traffic to pass and for police and fire trucks to pass. Yes, sir.
Would you also want parking put on the east side of Undercliff? Is that the main reason for the one-way?
I'd like to try it.
Okay, I think it'd be
Yeah, that's
less
it.
driveway because of the development
Yes.
going on the right side. I didn't know, because other than making it a one-way,
Yes, I hear what you're saying. You're suggesting parking on the east side where there's less driveways and more curb space.
correct, you'd get more cars.
Yeah.
But, I don't know, Mary, I mean,
You have to, I think, I'm sorry if I can speak, but you have to stripe them out because you have to make sure you're not putting a car parked across from a driveway and that person coming out of that driveway can't maneuver out.
Smashing the car.
Yeah, you know,
Yeah, no, that's
that wouldn't
one of
be
the
fair
issues
either,
with,
so you do have.
Earl Avenue.
I would think the police would have to go down and see where it would be that, and then stripe them and mark them as parking spaces.
Because I took a walk, I mean, I've been taking walks and trying to figure out, it's not that much parking, but that's separate from the issue of a one-way. But there's really not that much parking on the east side or,
Well, you're not allowed to park on the east side.
no, if we were going to change the
Oh,
parking, because there's gonna be, those new units that are being built, there's no parking. There won't be parking from.
No, I know, you're gonna lose 5 in front of
Yeah.
Village
You might lose
Tijuana,
eight.
and you're gonna lose 4 or 5 in front of Higgins's old house. So
You also-
that's
you also
10
take
within a block.
consideration coming up from north and parked, because you have to set
You
it
have to go
back far,
50
because you
feet.
can't see.
That's what I'm saying, you have to go back
So
50
it'll
feet.
take a sign, it'll take an actual survey or study to understand how many spaces we pick up in reality.
The road widens up around 738, right, and gets a little wider up there, so it might be easier on the other side as well.
But these projects, they have driveways, right?
They do, but they have to get out. I mean, you can't park all your cars right across from them. You know what I
More
mean?
parking spots.
I agree, the whole thing needs to be looked at. I think we all agree on that. It definitely needs to be looked at.
Sooner the better. I'm tired of losing mirrors.
Another very tight spot is the where Duck Duck Park is, where the gas pipelines come down across and under Cliff Avenue. The narrowness of the road there is 2 large vehicles passing each other. They're just inches away on mirrors as well, the driver's side.
Yeah.
So that's another tight spot in town to look at. There was another issue, I can't remember it now. I want to thank the DPW, they've been working very hard on getting leaves up and whatever's put out, it's gone within a day and a half, 2 days at most. So they've been really pushing. Thank you for that.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to be heard? Seeing none, I'll close the open portion of the meeting. And we'll return back to the conference, PSEG.
Mayor, we have Karen Fryer de Sosa and Andy Power from Public Service. You can join us over here. Andy Powers, The council had expressed an interest over the last several years about solar projects. And that's essentially all, as far as we've gotten, is discussing it. So through Karen, our municipal liaison, I was able to get in touch with Andy Powers, who handles the solar program. So he has some creative programs that we have registered for. That was the one thing we had to do on Wednesday. And then again, we completed it earlier this morning, register for the opportunity to participate in these programs. So, Andy, thank you.
Okay. I brought some handouts. Take one and pass it
The handouts are just a quick kind of synopsis of the various programs that we have. I'm the program manager for the Solar for All program. We had an initial program that was 80 megawatts of solar. And the first 80 megawatts was 40 megawatts of centralized solar, called centralized solar, where we installed solar facilities on PSEG owned property, as well as on third-party properties. And then that third-party property is where we lease the space for 20 years. And then we own and operate a solar facility on that space. Essentially, what we are is a tenant. Another section of that program was 40 megawatts of solar panels on utility poles, which we have solar panels on utility poles across our distribution, our service territory, basically all the way down from Philadelphia, all the way up north, and panels in all 300 municipalities that we serve. And that program is just winding up. Probably the end of this month we'll be done with that first program. We've been authorized through the Board of Public Utilities to do an additional program, which is 45 megawatts. And then that 45 megawatts is based on, or is broken down into 42 megawatts of solar, where we're going to put it on landfills and brownfields. And then there's 3 megawatts of what we're calling pilot programs or tech demo programs. And then those 3 megawatts are broken down into 3 individual programs, which I can talk about a little bit more. Some of the selling features of the program that we have is provide solar to everybody, and that the revenues that get generated from the solar. So there's a 30% federal government ITC investment tax credit that gets applied, and that gets returned back to the ratepayer for funding the program. Also, the energy that we generate, we sell energy. We sell the energy. We sell SRECs, the solar renewable energy credits, as well as there's a capacity factor that we sell for having these generators out there. All those benefits and the money that gets generated from that then goes back and repays for the program's cost. And then also with the third-party leases that we do, we pay for 20 years, typically on a quarterly basis. We give a monthly rate, a monthly rent payment to the landlords that are housing our facilities. And some of the notable hosts, New Jersey Food Bank is one of them, Rider University, Newark Schools, as well as there's some commercial properties that have the program, or have solar panels that we lease the space from.
I'm sorry, so you enter into a lease agreement with that third party for X amount of years?
Yep.
Is that number of years a fixed number?
20.
Always 20?
Yep. In the new program, we have 2 5-year extensions as well, so it could be up to 30, up for 30 years. But it's fixed 20 years. That's the lead. That's the terms, 20 years, and then depending on how the finances work, we can extend it for another 5 years, 2 times, or another 10 years.
And is the relationship between PSE&G and the landlord, is it strictly based on a rent and lease agreement? Is there any advantage to purchasing the energy directly from PSE&G, being that is there a sort of discount, for lack of a better term?
No, the program is set up that the host just gets a rent payment, and then because all these solar facilities get connected straight to the distribution system, so that we're a generator, and we generate the energy, and then we put it into the distribution system, and then we sell it to the whole market.
And is the rent depend on the location, or is there a fixed price per square foot on surface area?
The rent is based on kilowatt hours and a rent rate based on cost per kilowatt hours that gets generated by the solar. So it's not necessarily a square foot rent rate. So if we put, you know, and as a rule of thumb, and you can scale it, is a 1 megawatt system is, takes up to, on a very conservative, anywhere from 4 acres to 5 acres is a 1 megawatt facility. It takes you need that amount of space to put a 1 megawatt facility on that space. And then that 1 megawatt facility can generate anywhere from $40,000 to $45,000 of annual rent based on using that cost per kilowatt hour rate.
How much space do you need for that?
4 to 5 acres
4 to
for
5
a
acres.
1 megawatt facility.
And that could generate about 45,000 a year?
Yeah, 40 to 45.
4 to 5 acres.
Yes. Yes.
Are you talking, this initial presentation? I mean, can I jump in with a question?
Yeah, go for it.
Is this driven based on our conversation about the rec center? Is this where it
Yes.
started? Okay.
Yep.
So that's like a lot less than he's talking about in terms of square footage and in terms of putting them up, right?
Well, they have several programs that Andy really didn't get into, that the underutilized facilities, which this building, the community center would qualify for. They have an ingenious parking lot program, and again, you know, that, we would have to put some thought into that. You do have 3 municipal parking lots, and perfect example, if you go up to the Bergen County Police and Fire Academy, that used to be a barren parking lot, and what they've done now is created the canopy of panels, which is a nice thing too in the inclement weather. You're out of the elements. So those are the programs that we were eyeing up with the utility company as a partner. What makes it appealing with the utility company, you sort of are bypassing, because they are your utility company, the need, and Andy and Karen, correct me if I'm wrong, the need to do those RFPs and the evaluation and the bidding is eliminated. So.
And I think one of the other municipal examples, certainly Andy was involved with Secaucus, with their municipal installation, where they have a mixed-use police and municipal building, and very small footprint in terms of certainly space that was available. But that installation was done and actually reported in the Wall Street Journal as a quote state-of-the-art.
They actually, they put it on the parking lot, correct?
Correct. If you were looking for a recommendation, lessons learned, how did it go, I would suggest that you speak with Mayor Ganelli as well, for just how it's going now that that's up and running for what, 2 years?
Yeah, that wasn't through the program that I manage.
But what I'm referring to is just the look of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It can be pieced together from, there's so much over here, and then another part of it, you can
Correct.
piece it together and keep it connected with, that sort of thing.
And then if I just have you turn to the last page of the handout, so of the program, I have it as S4AE. S stands for solar, 4 is for, and then A is for all, and then the E is extension. So we had the original program, and now it's Solar for All extension. This is the second program. And then, as I mentioned, we have 42 megawatts on landfills, and then there's 3 1 megawatt programs. First program is what we call underutilized government facilities, which is for a capacity of 1 megawatt. But the small,
Which means what? Like, what's 1 megawatt in terms of?
that's 4 to 5 acres of space. However, that program, that's the capacity of that program. So the smallest size of a facility we would put in under this program, which you see as segment B, is 100 kilowatts. So 1/10 of 4 to 5 acres worth of space.
So
So
that'd be the smallest piece.
that would be the smallest
then-
area, correct.
But you can build up to that,
You could build up to 1 megawatt,
some here, some there.
correct.
Okay.
But the one individual location cannot be
Smaller
smaller
than-
than 100
Right.
kilowatts.
And which is how many square feet approximately, which is 1/10 of the?
Yeah, 1/10 of
4.4.
4.5 acres.
Okay, okay.
Can I ask a real simple question? Based on, I don't know if you've done any, preliminary numbers in terms of our usage, like in terms of our couple municipal lots and a rec building, we put a new roof on. Do you have any idea, like, you put solar panels on the community center, take a couple parking lots, whatever we have, with our assets, do you have any, like, rough numbers that would mean to us in terms of doing it per year? I mean,
You mean what kind of rent rate you would? I would just take the 40 to 45,000 for 1 megawatt, let's say, so then take 1/10 of that, so that would be what?
4,500.
Yeah, 45, is that right? 4,500 to maybe
Is it right?
5,000? Yeah, 4,500 to 5,000.
So to put like those panels on the roof, which the storm means it pulls the, let me drop back, is there another program where you pay for a roof per se, a new roof that we need, and then put the, okay. So to put them on top, $4,500 a year, we get a chance of it blowing and pulling the roof shingles up, it may, that's something we should take into consideration, right, because that could be a problem.
Well, we would,
So it
we
doesn't sound like
assess
it's
that as well.
potentially that beneficial to us, I mean, in terms of the downside, in terms of the way it looks. Because when you go back to the poles from Philadelphia up to here, that's all about PSG, right? We don't get any, that's all about something that's your income, not ours. So that's really not a good, I mean, that's really not a good example in a way, because that means something to us.
But Andy, how have they dealt with the roof issue? Because that's always a question that we've always had when we discuss this. How do you deal with a roof? Is it recommended that you put a new roof on the building before you install the panels? What happens 5 years down the road when you have a leak and you gotta fix the roof? What happens in those scenarios?
With the roof, it depends on how old the roof is. You don't want to go put a 20-year, 25-year asset on top of a roof that has, let's say, 10 years of life left in it, where you're going to have to replace it. The first program, we were looking at one, maybe a 2 to 5 year old roof, maybe tops 10-year-old roof. If it was a 10-year-old roof with some life left in it, we would put that on there. And then with roof leaks and so forth, we would, when we go to put a solar facility on a roof, you do all the due diligence and engineering that you would need to do to make sure the roof can handle it. And then also, protect the roof while you're doing the construction so that you don't create holes and create leaks. And then during the operation of it, we take precautions with that roof as well. Put pads down in certain areas where there might be a heavily trafficked area. You put a couple extra pads on that section of roof so where people are going to be walking, they're not going to be walking over it, let's say, directly.
But in terms of own, operate, and maintain, the municipality, Andy, would be responsible for own, operate, and maintain the asset of that roof over that 20-year lease.
Yes.
And then force majeure, the utility is responsible simply for the service of the equipment.
So when you say the asset over the roof, over that area, you're talking the panels, we have to maintain the panels?
No, we would. When I mentioned the word asset, I meant the solar facility as the asset. The roof would be the landlord or the owner of the roof would be responsible for that. What I was saying is with, the solar facility has a life of 20 to 30 years on it. Minimum with the lease is a 20-year lease. We wouldn't want to put a solar facility if the roof has, let's say, 5 years
Right.
left on it.
Okay.
So it sounds like if we powered up all the assets we have as a borough, and the way it looks, and we probably would have enough per month either to pay for, per year, to pay for the community center for a month. Is that fair to say, or? It doesn't sound like a lot.
Well, again, it depends on how extensive you want to go. Are you going to also consider the parking lots?
I'm saying, let's put it all together, I mean,
Yeah.
under that one program, did you think maybe 5,000 a year or something like that, or?
Yeah, and even if you have a parking lot, if it's a government parking lot, to prefer a parking lot, that parking lot would meet this, you know, would fall under the underutilized government facility, you know.
But you wouldn't
Or
pay for, you wouldn't pay for a roof over it or anything like
No,
that?
but
You just put
what
the
you would do
poles.
is you'd build a solar facility, a canopy solar facility that you make.
If we had like a field available or something like that, which we practically don't, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
But, you know, example is the New Jersey Science Center, or this Liberty State Science, the Science Center.
Yes.
You've seen that solar facility there, that's something, you know, for a parking lot. So you could actually do the innovative parking lot program as well as the underutilized government facility as an area for using your parking space for that.
I guess my last question, are they available to survey all the possibilities and come back with an estimate, or is that something you do in terms of at no cost, or just so we have like an idea of the potential?
We wouldn't be able to, and the reason for that is that we are out to bid right now, to where we're looking for municipalities and government entities to bring us with, here's our space, and we're interested in.
Well, we have space, that's what I'm asking. Would you be able to do an estimate?
Professional analysis
Yeah,
of
hopefully at no
what
cost.
we have
based on
in
the
town, and then
utility.
bring it to us and show us, here's what we found, and here's what you can possibly generate. So it makes sense, because you know better than us what qualifies.
Right. The answer would be, the answer is no, because we're looking for municipalities to bring us with, here's our space.
And we will. We'll
Right.
designate exactly where our space is as a potential. And once we do that, what happens?
And then we'll look at that and say, does this make sense or not? And then we would get back to you.
So,
And of course.
so you would do an estimate, you would do an
Right, and then
analysis.
of course, we have to remain at arm's length because there is a open public RFP process for all the municipalities in our
Okay,
service area.
that's one step further. I'm just
So we
wondering
were
whether we
just,
can
you know, a
actually.
bit skittish and
Yeah,
never having the ability to show preference with community